We're here at Token2049 with Ran from Orderly, and we're going to be talking about how Orderly Network serves both the builder side and the trader side. Let's start with, what does Orderly do for builders and for traders? Tell us some of the challenges and where your use cases are.
Yep, thanks for having me. I'm Ran, co-founder of Orderly. Orderly has a vision of allowing anyone to trade anything from anywhere. So what that means is unified liquidity for whatever assets across blockchains. We're on 7 EVM chains now, going to the 8th one, non-EVM chain, by early next month. And it's one order book, and it's perpetuals. We want anyone to be able to build a DEX, right, in a matter of minutes. Now there's 20 plus DEXs on top of Orderly. Some of them are AMMs that only had spot and wanted to build perps. Some are wallets. Some are social applications. And they're all plugged into the Orderly liquidity and infrastructure using our SDK. So that's for builders, right? Now it's taking them like a few days and 1 or 2 devs, but later on we want to shrink that so that there's no devs involved, and even communities, KOLs, they can all build their own perpetuals product, customized with whatever assets that they want in a matter of minutes. That'll be different geographies around the world, so touching anyone who wants liquidity, accessibility to any asset from any blockchain. And as we make listings more and more permissionless, as well as liquidity provision, we want all assets, even those without spot markets, to be listed as a perpetual on Orderly. So that's kind of the vision of what we're trying to build.
So can you take us through the concept of chain abstraction and how the Orderly liquidity layer serves that?
So I think DeFi has a long way to go before reaching CeFi like usability, right? Now the experience is not that great. They're switching between chains. There's the user onboarding. There's wrapped assets. These are all things that the average retail person doesn't really. These are issues that they don't have, let's say with Binance or Bybit, right? So what we're doing now is abstracting chains. So Orderly has vaults on every chain that's deployed on. We have our own chain that's a settlement layer built using OP that does all the settlements. It's like a clearinghouse across all the DEXs on top. And with any of the DEXs, the front ends, now you don't feel the chain, except when you select which one to deposit and withdraw. And even that, I think, should be abstracted away later on. That's more of an issue with the wallets and onboarding, right? I think that they can take care of via account abstraction, biometrics, email logins. All of that is at the first touch of the user. And then after that, it comes to us, and there can't be any representation of the chain. Users don't have that for Binance, except when they deposit or withdraw. So that's the idea. No bridges. The bridge is underneath. We use cross-chain messaging by layer 0. And the user should not have to deal with wrapped assets. It should be native assets used as collateral from any blockchain, right? So now we're only taking native USDC and wrapped USDC. But over time, we're going to be multi-collateral with like ETH, Solana, even native Bitcoin as that technology develops. But it has to be the native asset. So to generate that experience the user has on the centralized exchange. And that's how we can actually get mass adoption via DeFi, right? The UX has to be there. It can't be worse than centralized exchanges. The liquidity has to be there, right? So then I think chain abstraction is a huge piece in that puzzle.
Orderly, you see it as helping win against centralized exchanges, right? What's kind of in your way? What's stopping that from happening at the moment, and how are you overcoming it?
So the vision is still anyone trades anything from anywhere. Now the issues with DeFi is a lot of the UX issues with bridges, switching between chains, wrapped assets, and also liquidity issues, fragmented liquidity, not enough liquidity for the majors, especially compared to the centralized exchanges. But there's many benefits as well, right? Like the transparency, obviously. Anyone can provide liquidity. That's a very powerful thing, potentially, and for long tail assets, right? So like we're trying to solve for that, So long tail assets, how to get everyone involved on the liquidity process. I mean, now most of the liquidity on Orderly is generated by professional market makers. There's like 30 plus of them. And I think we've honed this process so that they're very willing to provide liquidity, best top of the book liquidity for any asset listed. And the next step is to do this and also add in retail liquidity for long tail assets, right? For any asset. The beauty of perps is that as long as there's some sort of a price index, an oracle, you can list anything. It can be prediction markets, it can be crypto assets, it can be RWAs, commodities, FX, and you can use essentially anything as collateral, but there's different risks involved. And so it's like the fastest thing you can get any asset to market with a minimal cost, I think, is the perps. So we're tackling like permissionless listings, right? For any asset. So I think this is going to be like a big thing for us because now if you want to list a perp, where do you go, right? There's nowhere to go really. It's a painful process to go through it with the centralized exchanges. And I think there's currently nothing in DeFi that can accommodate it and with ample liquidity. So we're trying to solve for that issue, right? So once you have the liquidity for anything, then it's about who is actually distributing this to the users, right? I think we don't really believe in a one-size-fits-all solution. I think that's going to change. It's similar with TradFi where you have like the investment banks servicing the institutions, you have interactive brokers servicing the pro traders, and you have Robinhood servicing the retail. I think it's a similar dynamic. And there's different instances of these for each different geo, right? Like the Turkish audience versus the Koreans, they want something different. So if we allow anyone to build their own product very fast, right? You can allow the guys who actually control the users and the traffic to make their own product without devs, right? Because they don't have devs, they don't know how to do it. And then that gives accessibility to essentially users from all over the world. And the beauty of DeFi is that everyone can be a stakeholder, via the token. The contributors can be rewarded. They can partake in liquidations, in listings, in providing liquidity, and they'll benefit, via value capture from the token and through these processes. So then that's another win above CeFi. So I think when that happens, you're going to see massive migration of users from CeFi and even TradFi, and they're all stakeholders and they're contributing and they're benefiting. And I think that's kind of the end game for what we're trying to do.
So what are the key objectives for Orderly on maybe a longer time frame? Is it that penetration of every market?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's going to be about users and volumes and ecosystem, right? So, we're not trying to be a Web 2 company where we're trying to do everything ourselves, right? Like kind of like centralized exchanges. We have a 50-person team already, which is pretty big for DeFi. I think we intend to just keep it at this level. And the rest should be community. So we have, bounties releasing for content, for distribution, for business development across the world. So I think key metrics are our users, volumes, kind of engagement. We have a token live, our token holders, and to get all the products I just described launched. I mean, we intend to launch all of that this year, actually. Like Solana integration, permissionless listings, to have vaults where anyone can deposit and be a liquidity provider. Once we get that done, I think it's gonna really have a positive feedback loop and get more and more people involved. And they can be stakeholders, own the token, and now we're giving 60% of all protocol fees to like the token holders via what we call like our Valor system. So then that's automatic value capture, right? So then people are incentivized to do all this, essentially.
Yeah, I think chain abstraction was just a narrative last year, and now there's multiple ways that it's happening across the ecosystem. So it's really nice to see Orderly doing it in such a highly abstracted way where you don't actually interact with the different chains. You can just go use that order book and trade from one to another. So thank you very much for coming and sharing with us, and good luck with your speech later. Pleasure to meet you, Ran.